Across Africa, the rhythm of Portuguese words fills markets, classrooms, and music halls, a living reminder of a bond that never faded. From Luanda to Maputo, this connection runs deeper than history. But here's the twist. Tens of thousands of Portuguese still call Africa home. Stay tuned, subscribe to Africa Revealed, and let's explore how the Portuguese never really left. They simply became part of Africa's story. Chapter 1. The Empire That Never Really Left. Portugal's connection to Africa stretches across more than 5 centuries, a relationship older and more enduring than most empires in history. It began in the 1400s, when Portuguese explorers like Diogo Cao and Bartolomé Dias sailed along Africa's coasts. They set up early trading posts first in West Africa, then along the East African shores, driven by dreams of trade, spices, gold, and influence. But beneath those ambitions lay something deeply human, a hunger for land, opportunity, and the possibility of a new life far from home. As time passed, these early voyages transformed into something much larger: colonization. By the 20th century, Portugal's presence in Angola and Mozambique had grown dramatically. In Angola, there were only a few tens of thousands of Portuguese settlers in the 1940s. But by 1973, that figure had exploded to about 335,000. Mozambique saw a similar trend, with nearly 300,000 white settlers living there by the same period. These weren't just colonial administrators or wealthy elites. Many were ordinary men and women from rural Portugal: farmers, carpenters, mechanics, small business owners, and people seeking better lives. Portugal, at the time, was one of Western Europe's poorer nations. For these settlers, Africa represented opportunity, vast lands to cultivate, growing towns to trade in, and a sense of purpose that might have been impossible in their homeland. Once they arrived, they didn't just pass through, they settled deeply. They built homes and neighborhoods, planted trees, and raised their families in cities like Luanda, Benguela, and Maputo. Over generations, Portuguese communities became woven into the local fabric. They established schools, opened factories, built railways, and introduced European architectural styles that still define city skylines today. But this wasn't a one-way exchange. African traditions, languages, and ways of life influenced how settlers lived, shaping cuisine, music, and daily rhythms in subtle but lasting ways. Even after colonial rule ended in the mid-1970s, Portugal's legacy remained imprinted on the continent. The buildings, laws, language, and Catholic faith continued to link both worlds. Today, Portuguese is spoken by over 60 million Africans in Angola, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, and São Tomé and Príncipe, making Africa home to more Portuguese speakers than Portugal itself. In a sense, Portugal's empire in Africa never truly vanished. It transformed from a political system into a shared cultural space, a living bridge connecting continents through history, language, and memory. Chapter 2. When Independence Changed Everything. The 1970s marked a dramatic turning point for Portugal's African territories, a decade when centuries of empire unraveled almost overnight. After decades of colonial rule, resistance, and mounting global pressure, the balance finally broke. Between 1974 and 1975, Angola, Mozambique, and Guinea-Bissau all gained independence, bringing one of Europe's longest-lasting colonial empires to an abrupt end. For hundreds of thousands of Portuguese settlers who had built their lives there, everything changed in an instant. One moment, they were farmers, shop owners, teachers, or civil servants deeply woven into the social and economic fabric of African life. Next, they were foreigners in lands they had called home for generations. Farms were seized, private businesses nationalized, and in many regions, chaos and violence followed the power vacuum left by Portugal's rapid withdrawal. Decades of belonging vanished in a matter of months. This upheaval triggered what became known as the Retornados Crisis, one of the largest repatriations in modern European history. Between 500,000 and 1 million Portuguese settlers, including many born in Africa, fled to Portugal in the months surrounding decolonization. Airlifts and crowded ships carried desperate families back to a country that, for many, was completely unfamiliar. Some had never set foot in Europe before. Others arrived with little more than a suitcase or nothing at all. Portugal, itself struggling through political turmoil after the 1974 Carnation Revolution, suddenly faced a refugee crisis of staggering proportions. Yet not everyone left. Some Portuguese settlers and mixed families remained in Angola or Mozambique, choosing to face uncertainty rather than abandon their lives. For many, their roots were simply too deep. They had children born in Africa, friendships that stretched across generations, and businesses built from scratch. Others lacked the means to start anew in Portugal, where jobs and housing were scarce. And for many, it wasn't just about citizenship, it was about identity. They felt African, spoke local languages, and understood the rhythms of the land better than those of Lisbon. In countries like Mozambique, the government gave Portuguese residents a stark choice: adopt Mozambican nationality or leave quickly, often with severe limits on what they could take. Many departed with only the clothes they wore. But even after flags changed and borders were redrawn, the deeper connections between the cultural and emotional bonds didn't disappear. The empire had fallen, but the human ties between Portugal and Africa endured, echoing through generations that still straddle both worlds today. Chapter 3: The Great Return. Africa becomes the land of opportunity. When the 2008 global financial crisis hit Portugal, the shock was immediate and devastating. Businesses collapsed, unemployment skyrocketed, and thousands of families saw their savings and security disappear almost overnight. The once steady path of European prosperity seemed to vanish, leaving behind uncertainty and frustration. Faced with limited options at home, many Portuguese people began to look outward not just for any opportunity, but for a genuine new beginning. And in a twist of history, the continent that once symbolized departure, Africa, began calling them back. At that time, Angola was experiencing an economic boom. Fueled by oil, diamonds, and large-scale construction projects, cities like Luanda were transforming at breakneck speed. Cranes filled the skyline, new roads and towers rose, and money flowed into infrastructure and trade. The demand for skilled labor, technical expertise, and management soared, and the Portuguese were perfectly positioned to fill that gap. In 2009, barely a year after the financial collapse, nearly 23,787 Portuguese emigrants moved to Angola. Within a few short years, estimates suggested there were over 100,000 Portuguese nationals living and working in the country. Portuguese-owned companies multiplied, and local businesses actively sought partnerships with them. Mozambique, too, was entering a new chapter. The discovery of massive natural gas reserves, coupled with growth in mining, tourism, and construction, attracted investors and professionals alike. By 2012, the Portuguese consulate in Maputo registered about 17,000 Portuguese nationals in the southern provinces of Maputo, Gaza, and in Hambane, though the true number was likely much higher due to unregistered migrants and short-term workers. Portuguese engineers, architects, teachers, and entrepreneurs found opportunities in sectors ranging from logistics to hospitality, helping to shape the country's post-conflict economic revival. But this wave of migration wasn't a colonial echo, it was something entirely different. These new arrivals weren't coming as conquerors or settlers. They came as skilled workers, investors, and dreamers looking for stability and purpose. Africa represented a place where hard work was rewarded, where economies were expanding, and where optimism still felt real. By 2012, tens of thousands of Portuguese had built new lives in Angola and Mozambique, not as outsiders but as contributors to a shared future. They taught, built, healed, and invested, becoming part of societies in motion. This wasn't about reclaiming a past, but about shaping a future where old ties evolved into new opportunities, and the path to prosperity, once again, pointed south. Chapter 4: From Colonizers to Neighbors, a Shared Future. What keeps the Portuguese in Africa today goes far beyond economics. It's about connection, identity, and belonging. Generations born on African soil proudly call themselves Luso Africans, a living bridge between Portuguese heritage and African life. These are people who carry the language, culture, and traditions of Portugal while fully embracing African rhythms, landscapes, and community. They speak Portuguese fluently, often alongside Creole or local African languages. Their tables blend worlds. Pastéis de nata might sit next to cassava dishes, and celebrations might feature both kizomba and fado in the same gathering. For them, life is not a choice between continents, but a fusion of histories. Across the continent, signs of this enduring connection are everywhere. Portuguese cafes line the streets of Maputo, schools in Luanda teach in Portuguese, and families across Angola and Mozambique embody a seamless cultural mix. Children grow up fluent in multiple languages, learning local customs while also inheriting European traditions, a blend that shapes who they are and how they interact with the world. In many neighborhoods, it's impossible to draw a clear line between Portuguese and African. The two identities exist side by side, often indistinguishable. Economically, the ties remain equally strong. Portuguese companies invest heavily in infrastructure, energy, and technology projects across Africa, helping to shape the modern economy. Meanwhile, African investors, particularly from Angola, channel billions into Portuguese banks, real estate, and businesses. Trade between Portugal and its former colonies consistently reaches billions of dollars annually, and thousands of Portuguese professionals, engineers, doctors, educators, entrepreneurs continue to contribute to Africa's growth. Yet the most enduring force isn't financial or political, it's deeply human. It's a shared story that transcends borders. It's about generations who grew up in homes where cultures intertwined, where identity wasn't dictated by colonial maps but by everyday life, family, and community. It's a story of resilience and adaptability, of people who refuse to let history limit their place in the world. Today, the Portuguese presence in Africa is not a relic of empire. It is living, evolving, and rooted in mutual respect and collaboration. Two continents, once divided by conquest and colonization, now find common ground in the lives of people who embody both worlds, carrying forward a connection that is as cultural and emotional as it is economic. The bond between Portugal and Africa continues, alive in communities, traditions, and a shared future that stretches beyond borders. For many, Africa isn't a foreign land, it's home. It's where families grew, where dreams took root, and where two worlds, Europe and Africa, blended into something entirely new. We'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Africa Revealed for more insight and stories from across the African continent.